The real story of Apple, how a garage dream changed the world. In our world today, it's almost impossible to imagine life without Apple. iPhones, iPads, MacBooks, AirPods, they're everywhere. But behind this global company, there's a story of vision, friendship, failure, and genius. This is the true story of how Apple began, how it changed technology, and how it became one of the most powerful companies on Earth. Chapter 1. The Beginning in a Garage. Our story starts in 1976 in California, United States. Two young friends, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, were fascinated by computers. Back then, computers were huge, expensive, and only used by big companies or universities. But Wozniak, who loved building electronics, had a dream. He wanted to make a small personal computer, one that anyone could have at home. Jobs saw something special in this idea. He wasn't an engineer like Wozniak, but he had big imagination and business sense. So, in Jobs' parents' garage, they started building the first Apple computer, by hand. They called it the Apple I. It didn't have a monitor or a case, just a wooden box with circuits and a keyboard. But it worked. To get money for the project, Jobs sold his old Volkswagen van, and Wozniak sold his calculator. That's how Apple Computer was born. Chapter 2. The First Success. The Apple I was simple but different. A small local store called the Byte Shop agreed to buy 50 computers. Jobs and Wozniak worked day and night to deliver them. They earned just enough to build the next version, the Apple II. The Apple II was a revolution. It came with color graphics, a plastic case, and could be used right out of the box. It was one of the first computers that ordinary people could buy and use easily. By 1978, Apple had sold thousands of Apple II computers. They went from a small garage to a multi-million-dollar company in just a few years. It was the birth of the personal computer era. Chapter 3. The Rise of the Visionary Heir. As Apple grew, more people joined the company. Steve Jobs, only in his 20s, became famous for his energy and perfectionism. He wanted every detail, from the design to the box, to be beautiful and simple. He said, "Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works." In 1984, Apple introduced something completely new, the Macintosh. It had a mouse, windows, icons, and sound, things we take for granted today. For the first time, a computer felt human and friendly. It even had a voice that said, "Hello, I'm Macintosh." People were amazed. It was the beginning of Apple's famous creativity, making technology simple, personal, and emotional. Chapter 4. The Fall of Steve Jobs. But success didn't last long. Inside Apple, there were big disagreements. Jobs' perfectionism sometimes made him hard to work with. Some board members and executives thought he was too young and too emotional to lead. In 1985, after a long internal conflict, Steve Jobs was forced to leave Apple, the company he had founded. It was one of the most painful moments in his life. He said later, "Getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me." Because even though he lost everything, it gave him freedom to start over. Chapter 5. The Comeback. After leaving Apple, Jobs started a new company called Next, which built high-end computers for universities. He also bought a small animation studio called Pixar. Pixar later made famous movies like Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and The Incredibles. Meanwhile, Apple wasn't doing well. Without Jobs, the company lost direction. Their products were confusing, expensive, and not exciting anymore. By the mid-1990s, Apple was almost bankrupt. In 1997, Apple made a bold decision. They brought Steve Jobs back. And that decision changed everything. Chapter 6. The Second Life of Apple. When Jobs returned, Apple was close to dying. But he believed it could live again. He started cutting unnecessary products and focused on innovation. His idea was simple: think different. He wanted Apple to be not just another tech company, but a symbol of creativity. In 1998, Apple launched the iMac, a colorful one-piece computer that looked nothing like other PCs. It became a huge success. It was fun, modern, and easy to use. Exactly what Apple needed. Chapter 7. The iRevolution. But Jobs and his team were only getting started. In 2001, they released the iPod, a tiny music player that could hold 1,000 songs in your pocket. It changed how people listened to music. In 2003, Apple opened the iTunes Store, letting people buy songs legally online, a new idea at the time. Then, in 2007, came the product that changed everything, the iPhone. During the launch, Jobs said, "Today Apple is going to reinvent the phone." The iPhone wasn't just a phone, it was a camera, a computer, and a music player all in one. No buttons, just a touchscreen. People couldn't believe it. It became the most successful product in history. Soon after came the App Store, the iPad, and MacBook Air, each one changing how people use technology. Chapter 8. The Legacy and the Future. In 2011, Steve Jobs passed away after a long illness. It was a sad moment for the whole world. But his vision continued. Under new CEO Tim Cook, Apple grew even bigger. Today, Apple is worth trillions of dollars. Its products are not only technology, they are symbols of lifestyle and identity. From smartwatches to AirPods to Apple TV, the company continues to expand into health, music, and even virtual reality. But the spirit of Apple is still the same as it was in that small garage, simple, elegant, and human. Chapter 9. Lessons from Apple's Story. The story of Apple teaches us 3 powerful lessons. 1. Start small but dream big. Jobs and Wozniak started with almost nothing, just a garage and a belief. 2. Focus on what matters most. Apple's secret was not having many products, but having great ones. 3. Stay creative. Technology alone is not enough. The best inventions come from imagination. Jobs once said, "People with passion can change the world for the better." That's exactly what he and Apple did. Conclusion. From a tiny garage in California to millions of pockets around the world, Apple has become more than a company. It's a story of courage, creativity, and endless innovation. Every time you hold an iPhone, listen to AirPods, or open a MacBook, remember, it all began with 2 young dreamers who believed that technology should be beautiful, personal, and simple. That's how Apple changed the world, one idea at a time.